Imagine walking into a stadium with 45 of your closest friends, and waiting for you on the field are 30,000 trained soldiers ready to destroy you. Now, imagine actually winning. What I'm about to show you is one of history's most absurd military moments. A story so insane that when historians first documented it, people thought it was pure fiction. Picture this. It's 1799. The world's most dominant superpower, the Ottoman Empire, controlled everything from North Africa to Eastern Europe. They had the numbers, the infrastructure, the resources. They were unstoppable. And then, 4,500 French soldiers decided to attack them, not raid them, not ambush them, not use guerrilla tactics. They literally marched straight at 30,000 Ottoman troops in broad daylight. 7 enemy soldiers for every single Frenchman. The odds weren't just bad, they were mathematically insane. But here's where it gets unbelievable. The French commander, a relatively unknown general named Bonaparte, saw something that everyone else missed. He saw that this massive Ottoman army wasn't just outnumbered. Wait, no, they were outnumbered. But their enemy was disorganized, scattered, and hadn't faced European military tactics before. So he did something crazy. He actually used that disadvantage as an advantage. He marched 4,500 soldiers straight at 30,000 because he knew, with absolute certainty, that the sheer audacity of it would break their will before a single sword was drawn. What happened next would shock the entire world. It would reshape global power dynamics. And it proved that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't numbers. It's a man who refuses to play by the rules of war. This is the Acre Disaster. This is how everything changed. Now ask yourself this. What kind of leader walks straight into disaster, convinced it's an opportunity? Napoleon knows he cannot win a straight grinding battle against 30,000 men, so he chooses something even more dangerous, a trick. While some of his troops, under generals like Kleber, attempt to hold off the Ottoman advance, Napoleon marches another force through the night to strike where no one expects. His plan hinges on timing. If he arrives too early, he's outnumbered and surrounded. Too late, and his forward troops are already destroyed. The Ottomans believe they're closing in for an easy kill on a tired French detachment. They stretch their lines, crowd together, confident that sheer numbers will do the work. But Napoleon is watching the battlefield like a chessboard. He studies the terrain, the hills, the routes of approach. He knows that if he can catch the Ottomans when they're packed and disorganized, they won't fight like a disciplined army. They'll react like a panicked crowd. The French march in silence, bayonets glinting, artillery dragged into position. One signal, one cannon shot, and the trap will spring shut. This is the moment where everything can go wrong. A single mistake means annihilation. Yet Napoleon is betting the entire Syrian campaign and his own legend on the hope that his small, iron-disciplined army can shatter a giant. What happens when 30,000 men realize, too late, that they are the ones walking into an ambush? At first light, the Ottomans think they still have the upper hand. Their cavalry moves confidently, their infantry masses in great waves. Then, almost out of nowhere, French drums roll, cannons roar, and disciplined infantry columns appear on their flank and rear. Napoleon's troops form into solid squares and lines, pouring controlled musket volleys into the confused Ottomans. Artillery shells crash into dense formations that moments before felt invincible. The French don't charge wildly. They advance like a moving fortress, step by step, reloading and firing with terrifying precision. For the Ottoman soldiers, it's a nightmare. Dust and smoke fill the air. Orders are lost in the noise. Units collide with each other, trying to turn and face the unexpected French attack. Cavalry charges break apart under close-range fire. Once the front ranks begin to crumble, fear spreads faster than any command. What was supposed to be an overwhelming victory becomes chaos. Men who thought they were hunting a cornered enemy suddenly realize they are the ones surrounded. Panic turns the battlefield into a stampede. Thousands run, throwing down weapons, desperate just to escape the killing zone. In a shockingly short time, the unstoppable Ottoman army isn't fighting anymore. It's fleeing. And that's when the most unbelievable detail of this battle begins to emerge in the French reports. Here's the detail that made generals all over Europe double-check the numbers, again and again. When the smoke clears, the battlefield around the French positions is littered with Ottoman dead and abandoned equipment. Estimates vary wildly, but thousands of Ottoman soldiers have been killed, captured, or scattered. The French, exhausted but still in tight formation, stand victorious against an army that dwarfed them in size. Then comes the shocker. According to French accounts, only 2 French soldiers were killed in the entire engagement, with relatively few wounded. 2. Against an army of tens of thousands. The numbers sound less like a battle and more like a legend. Across Europe, many refuse to believe it. Some call it propaganda, others an exaggeration. But even skeptical observers admit one thing. Napoleon's victory was extraordinary. The combination of surprise, terrain, discipline, and Ottoman disorganization produced a result so lopsided it feels unreal. For Napoleon's image, this is gold. Stories spread of the young general who can walk into impossible odds and walk out nearly untouched. His soldiers start to believe that as long as he leads them, they cannot truly be defeated. His enemies, meanwhile, begin to whisper that facing him in open battle is suicide. Yet behind the glorious numbers lies a darker truth. Because while this battle looks perfect on paper, the larger campaign around Acre is about to show Napoleon that even a miracle victory has limits. So how can a victory this perfect still help lead to one of Napoleon's biggest strategic failures? You'd think a victory like this would guarantee success at Acre. It didn't. Despite crushing the Ottoman relief army in the field, Napoleon still faces the fortress of Acre itself, defended by strong walls, determined troops, and crucially, British naval support offshore. His army is tired, supplies are running low, disease begins to spread through the ranks, siege after siege, assault after assault, the French fail to break the defenders. The same campaign that produced the near-miraculous win against 30,000 Ottomans now grinds into a cruel stalemate. In the end, Napoleon is forced to do something unthinkable for his legend. He retreats. The Acre disaster doesn't erase his battlefield genius, but it does slam the door shut on his dreams of carving a lasting empire in the East. The path to India, to a vast eastern dominion, fades away. Yet that failure changes everything. Instead of becoming a conqueror of the East, Napoleon returns to France, spins his story carefully, and soon seizes power, becoming first consul and later emperor. The incredible victory over 30,000 Ottomans becomes part of his myth, but Acre reminds him, and the world, that even a genius cannot bend reality forever. Sometimes, the battle you win is the one that quietly pushes you toward your true destiny. In the end, that's the paradox of Acre. Napoleon wins the impossible battle and still loses the campaign. 4,500 men humiliate an army that should have swallowed them whole. The Ottomans flee. European generals stare at the casualty reports in disbelief, and the legend of Bonaparte grows taller than ever. But behind the smoke and glory, reality is colder. The fortress still stands, the plague still spreads, the supplies still run out. The genius who shattered 30,000 soldiers can't crack one stubborn city on the coast. And that's the part history class rarely tells you. Because this isn't just a story about a miracle victory. It's a story about limits, about how even the most brilliant strategist in Europe could bend the rules of war, but not break them forever. The road to India closes. The Eastern Empire dies on Acre's walls. And that disaster quietly redirects Napoleon back to Europe, where he'll reshape the entire continent instead. One battlefield, one perfect victory, one failed siege. And the destiny of an empire turns in a direction no one on that shore could have imagined. If you want more moments like this, where the numbers look fake, the odds make no sense, but the history is 100% real, you're in the right place. This is just the beginning. You've been watching Swords and Stories. If you enjoyed walking this Battlefield with me, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next time we tear apart another myth and uncover the brutal, messy truth behind it. Tell me in the comments, what should we uncover next? Another impossible battle, a lost army, a forgotten siege that changed the world? Drop your ideas below, and I might turn your comment into the next episode.